Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sorry for the delay. Was trying to put together some things that we would be able to utilize today, inshallah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. You're welcome, and I believe some of you yesterday couldn't get the recording of yesterday's session. Alhamdulillah, ala kulli hal, we say. It happened, and we hope we have learned lesson from it, myself and all of you. Today, inshallah, it's more of us repeating yesterday's session, but not repetition as such, but we'll take the concept again and get the full understanding of what we did yesterday vis-a-vis the application generally. And so when we say application, I mean, how do we apply those things? How do we apply them on the ground, considering the topic, the subject matter, fi'l generally. Yesterday we spoke about all the fi'ls, madi, mudhari, amr, and we mentioned their types, those that have types, and so on. We mentioned that madi, mudhari, amr have fi'ls in the third or second type of a word. And we also mentioned that anytime you see a fi'l, you must know that it has a tense, and the tense can either be madi, mudhari, amr, or nahy. Amr and nahy, as we said, are af'al mustaqbaliyah, which means they are future tense, right? They talk about what would happen in future. And we mentioned also that madi has only one type, it's fi'l madi. How do you identify a fi'l madi? You look at the end of the fi'l. And fi'l mudhari has three types: normal, light, and lightest. How do you identify it? Look at the beginning and the end. So that's the difference. Fi'l amr, we said, is developed from fi'l al-mudhari. In fact, mudhari is something is added to the madi to give you the mudhari. Something is taken off the mudhari and something added to give you the amr and nahy, respectively. These are the way you put them as a concept for somebody to understand easily before you go into the details, right? And then we also mentioned that mudhari has three types: the light, lightest, and the normal. We mentioned harfs of light and harfs of lightest. Inshallah, today, what I was putting together, I scrambled certain things actually to put together to make it a session so that it will be more of going over what we did yesterday, but in a more detailed manner and with some examples. But we shouldn't forget again that as we learn these concepts, the intent is to be able to apply in our recitation of Quran and understanding it the little we can. That is the goal. The goal is not for you to go and speak Arabic. Believe me, that's not the vision. I think this was made clear from the beginning. The intention is, when I see an ayah written in the Quran or an ayah being read, I should be able to know something about the meaning of what is being said. That is the main goal. So that an imam standing in front of you in the town or in the village wouldn't read an ayah and then you see a fi, then followed by a word, then he puts dhamma on it, for instance. Even if you don't know the ayah, you know this is absolute, there's something wrong with what you have just read. You can't bring fi and you put a kalima after it with dhamma or fatha, for instance. There must be a reason, and you need to query it. So these are the things we are learning to, or we are giving to the learners. And this is what we should be given to the learner. So you as teachers, this should be the approach in learning Nahu. Not the approach of only learning the technicalities and learning it for ourselves. We don't know how to apply, right? Alhamdulillah. So we go further, and I'll go through a slide that I had to really scramble around to put together, but alhamdulillah, we should be able to use it for today. And then tomorrow, we will take maybe a new topic. After tomorrow, Thursday, we will do another more topics. Then that will end the program. Next week, it's only going to be practicals. Practicals on the first day, practicals on the second day, and maybe I will add one other day at the end, and that will be on the 11th day for me to take you through how to prepare a model questions for your students, how to use the technology also. A lot of the things that I'm doing, how you'll be able to apply it. I will take the last day to do that for you, inshallah, after your permission, of course, so that we'll have an 11-day session. So the last 10 days, the 10 days we'll do for the sessions, and the 11th day, before we say goodbye for this particular batch, we'll take how to practically use the technology to teach Nahu and other Arabic subjects, inshallah. Okay. Now, let me show you my slide. Hopefully, it works for today. Okay. Day number 6. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. I hope you can see my screen. Please, let's start it well. Yesterday, some of you were not seeing the screen and couldn't know. Ellie, can you see my screen, please? Baba Salam. What is OUI? OUI is Dhamma Fatah Kesra, right? But of course, that's what we are learning, isn't it? Oh, yes, it's blank. Yes, it's blank, Ikram. It's blank, just to make sure you can see. Okay. Salami, just to be sure, the OU is Dhamma Fatah Kesra or what? Okay. Good. Okay. Now we okay, thank you for that. Thank you for the education. Now we're going to follow up with the mudhari, amr, fi'l madi, mudhari, amr, and generally understanding that we are talking about Jumlah Fi'liyyah. Of course, we're done with Jumlah Ismiyah, we are doing Jumlah Fi'liyyah, and that's why we are learning these 4 kinds of fi'ls: madi, mudhari, amr, and nahy, right? Tabi' means continuation. Okay, let's look at the conjugation. How do we conjugate fi'l madi? What we spoke yesterday, I remember you all, sorry, I believe you all remember yesterday when we gave an example of Nasara. Nasara, he helped. So we started by saying, okay, anytime we think about fi'l, we think about pronouns. You can't understand fi'ls without pronouns or without dama'ir. So anytime a fi'l is mentioned, there is a fa'il inside, and that fa'il is a pronoun inside, right? What we said was that if you are able to remember that chart of huwa huma hum, hiya huma hunna, anta antuma antum, anti antuma antunna, ana nahnu, then it's easy for you to put in every fi'l there and conjugate it. So we have nasara, huwa nasara, huma nasara, hum nasaru, hiya nasarat, huma nasarata, hunna nasarna, anta nasarta, antuma nasaltuma, antum nasaltum, anti nasalti, antuma nasaltuma, antunna nasaltunna, ana nasartu, nahnu nasarna. Madi. Now, let's listen to what this slide is telling us. After knowing about fi'l madi and the conjugation, now note, it says that what do these words have in common? That means, What do these words that I've just mentioned, nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasarata, nasarna, nasar, nasarta, nasartuma, nasartum, nasarti, nasartuma, nasartunna, nasarna, nasartu, and nasarna. What do they have in common? Can't you hear the nasar, 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 nasar? And then at the end, you are hearing somewhere. Nasara, nasara, nasar, rat, nasara. And some of the endings is different, like nasar tu, nasar na, nasar. So we need to know that nasar seem to be the same, but the endings are different. So this is what it's saying here. We are saying that their endings are the same with the first set. Nasara and nasara, they are all having what? Right? Okay. That will tell you who did the action. So, nasara huwa, nasara huma. Can't you see it? Huwa, huma. So these two words, that is nasara and nasara, they are having a verb-like meaning, plus the meaning of who did it. So it's an action. Verb-like meaning is an action, which means that ta-ta-ta. It's ta-ta-ta like daraba, shariba, kataba. That's how Arabic actions or verbs sound, right? When we talk about verbs or the action in Arabic, that's how they sound. They sound. Lamisa, shariba, la la la. That's how it sounds. And also at the end of it, you are having the a. So for instance, nasara, he helped. There is a hidden huwa inside. So what tells me that there is huwa? The ending is a. And the ending is a on the last three letters of the fi'l. Any fi'l that you see in this format, the ending, the dua is inside, and it is huwa. Now, if you change the ending to t, so you put a t, now the meaning is she, so she helped. Now, if you say nasara, so in this case, you have brought in an alif there. It means both of them. So you can see that nasara, nasara, nasara. So this is nasara, nasara, and nasara. But this one has nothing at the end, so it's huwa. This one has a t at the end, so it's here. This one has a, so it's both of them. And then nasaru, in this case, we have u. Note, actually, it is nasara u, nasara u. That's how it is. But the dhamma came here because you cannot pronounce the elongated waw with a fatha. It will become awkward. And Arabic has something called salasa. Salasa means it flows. It flows nicely without making your mouth look awkward. And so you can't say nasarau. It will be more like So you said nasaru. So this dhamma is actually fatha. You know, it was compelled to be dhamma because of the waw. So this is some of the things, some of the clues. We call it tips for you to understand madhi. Madhi will be having the the end. At the end. So any madhi is having at the end. For instance, if it is three-letter word, and the letters that are connected to it at the end determines who the dua is. In this case, the dua is hum. In this case is here. In this case, huma. In this case, huwa. Good. Now look here. You remember this table? You remember this table? So this is mufrad, mufanna, jabr. This is mudhakkar. This is muannas. And the whole of this is what? The third person. Don't forget, there's something here that tells you is the what? Third person, right? You remember the person? Oh, we are talking about the pronouns here. Huwa, huma, hum. Here, huma, hunna. I have asked all of you to go and learn this thing by heart. Please go and do it. Don't worry if people will be asking what is happening to you in your room alone. Just go in there, close yourself, do the huwa, huma, hum. Here, huma, hunna. Anta, antuma, antum. Anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. Let it be like, you know, none other thing as soft. And then you start applying all the fi'ls. It will be well. But if you don't do that, thinking that, oh, I will scramble, and you will always, you know, have difficulties. Okay? So now let's look at the third person. Huwa, huma, hum. Here, huma, hunna are all third persons. Okay? Which we call in Arabic al-ghaib. Ghaibun. Ghaibun means it's not here. Somebody who is not here. Right? Good. In the case of huwa, is nasara. Huma nasara, hum nasaru, hiya nasarat, huma nasarata, hunna nasarna. Remember, we did this all, right? But what is common here is, look at the end. U, and t, ta, and then na. But it's all having the nasar, nasar, nasar. Okay, good. Now for the remaining pronouns, let's look at the second person. Okay, anta and antuma. Okay, the anta, antuma, antum, and anti, antuma, antunna, right? And then ana, nahnu. How to make the word using the rest of the pronouns? Look at here. Look at here. If the word is nasara, it will become what? Nasar if you add any of these second persons to it. So look at how it is. If we are on the second person line, of course, this is the second person lines, right? Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. What is the trick? How do we know that we are talking about a second person? You realize that we put a sukun on the last letter of the fi'il. When I say the last letter of the fi'il, I mean the last letter of the root word. You put a sukun there. Anytime you should put a sukun there, then you should know that it is part of these pronouns. That is the dua, not the third person. It can't be the third person. It has to be one of these. Anytime you see a sukun before the attached pronoun, or before the pronouns or the endings that are attached. Okay, so we have anta nasar ta, nasar tuma, and you see what is done here. It's just about putting sukun on the ra, and then removing the alif and nun, and then take the last part of the pronoun and join it. So in this case, it's what? Anta. So you remove the an, you put the ta here. Antuma, you remove the an, you put the tuma. Antum, you remove the an, you put the tum. So now just put sukun on the last letter and bring the last part of the pronoun to it. That is the secret of understanding the second person. So you have an nasar ta, nasar tuma, nasar tum, and then here nasar ti, nasar tuma, nasar tunna. So that's the key. So you know that, okay, so the dua here is ta like anta, tuma like antuma, tum like antum, ti anti, tunma and like antuma and tunna. So you can see the dua. The dua is very clear here. Fi'l fa'il. How do you know the fa'il? Just remember the pronoun. So that's the trick about the second person. You have the nasar plus ta. So you add the ta. Nasar tuma, nasar tum, nasar ti, nasar tuma, nasar tunna. Right? Good. Let's look at the last part. Ana and nahnu. What happened in ana and nahnu is very easy. They are very unique. So the ana is two. So anytime you hear the two, but still it's the same rule. The last root letter takes takes sukun, silent, right? Nasar, tu, nasar. So the basic rule here, which I want to remind you, is that the second person and the first person, in that case, any of the fi'l or any part, the ending part of all fi'ls will take the sukun. We are talking about fi'l madi. We are talking about fi'l madi. Don't forget that. Good. So that's how you show the students the trick of getting this particular concept well seated. Yes. Okay. Now let's look at the mudhari. What about mudhari? Mudhari have to give us a certain tip also here. It says, if you want to know the easy thing to know about fi'l mudhari, particularly with the one that is having the hamza, or not the hamza, in fact, all of them, okay? You know, if you can remember the ism form of the fi'l, it's very easy for you to do. Just substitute the meme there. You remember I told you once that words that start with meme are majorly or mainly isms, right? So for instance, Muslim, just put u there, it becomes uslimu. So Muslim is a Muslim. When I want to say I become a Muslim, you say uslimu. So the hamza there is hamza of mudhari. This is what? Mu'azzin. Okay, this is having a shadda. Mu'azzin. Then u'azzinu. Mu'allim. So this hamza is actually added to cause the mudhari of the root letter a-la-ma, a-zi-na, sa-la-ma. Okay, so always note that you will always see the fi'l apart from the root, the anita harfs. So what it tells you here is that the Anita harfs are just like the meme that is added when it comes to the subjective and or objective ism. This has to do with start anyway. This is a sort of issue. I just brought it here to give you an example. Okay. For instance, maktabun and aktubu. See what the trick is? So when you meant to make the mudhari, just bring the Anita harfs and then it becomes more mudhari. So you know that this is a fi'il and this is an ism. So no fi'il, no ism stands like this, and no fi'il also stands like this. So this is the form how to also detect the mudhari. And let's go more about mudhari. How to conjugate mudhari. Mudhari, beginning of every mudhari will either be a or u. This is what we learned yesterday. A or u. So the 4 letters, Anita, Anayata, Anaitu, all the 4 letters, all the 4 letters can either be a, u. So a, u, na, nu, ya, you, and ta, tu. Okay, let's take an example. So a, u beginning, it means I. So anytime you see the u or a, it means I. U or a is I. When you see na, nu, it means we. Nu'allimu, and nata'allamu, for instance. Okay, nu'allimu and nata'allamu. Okay, now ya, you is the beginning for he. Sorry, he. So ya, you. Yazhabu, yadrusu, ya'budu, wa yu'allimu. It's for he. So if you remember these pronouns and the letters, it will help you in the meaning, right? So yesterday we did mention when we were doing the conjugation, we had what? Yansuru, yansurani, yansuruna, tansuru, tansurani, yansurna, tansuru, tansurani, tansuruna, tansurina, tansurani, tansurina, tansurna, ansuru, and nansuru. This is the conjugation of the huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu of the mudhari version, right? So it's the same thing. I'm just putting into tips here, right? Okay. So I is a-u. Okay. We is na-nu. And then he is ya-you. Good. Let's go move on. Ya-bodani, for instance. So what about the ending? A-ni. So you know that the ya is huwa, for instance, here. The ya-you, sorry, ya-you is for he. But then let's go forward. When I say ya-bodani, so I know that ya is for he. What about the ani? 2. Ani is 2. So he, 2 of them becomes what? Both of them, right? Okay, so where have we seen this ending before? This ani, you remember this ani in the Muslim church, Muslimun, Muslimani. So it's about 2. So if you have your ya, you as he plus ani, both of them, so it becomes what? He, 2 of them, which is they in English, right? So he is ya, you. From plus ani becomes 2 of them, ya bodani. So you see how you are able to link them. Then the tip of how to teach it even easier. Tell a student that anytime you see ya is about huwa, he. And then look at the end and see if it's 1 person, 2 person, or 3 person. The ani shows that it is 2. Again, ya, you is also he. What about the una at the end? You remember una of muslimuna, right? It's the same thing here, but in the fi'l. So you say ya, you plus people, many of them. So it becomes what? They, right? Ya, you, he, many of them becomes what? They. So una. So ya, you plus una becomes they. Another ya, you plus na. This na at the end, yesterday I told you about that na, is for plural female. This one. The trick here is that ya, you is still what? He, okay? Ya, you at the beginning, and then if there are many, of course, you say they in English because it is a lot of them, right? So you say they. So unna, ya abudna, ya abudna. So ya is still about he in the past, right? Or sorry, in the third person, right? But then the na tells you that they are female, many of them. So it becomes they at the same time. Okay. Now let's come to ta. Ta is not about he. Ta is about you. So like anta. Ya is about he. Ta is about anta, you. So ta budu. So this, don't forget this ta is for you. So you worship ta budu. Let's look at here. Okay, so ta budu, you worship. ta and ani becomes you, two of you. So ta and ani, two of you. Okay, ta and aini, sorry, ta and aini, sorry, ta and una, not ta and not ani. There's a mistake here. Ta and una rather. This one is a mistake. This one's supposed to be that. Ta and una becomes you all. Huh? Ta'kuluna, you all. So ta'una is all of you, because ta is you, singular, and una means you are a lot of you, so it becomes ta and una. Ta and na, we have spoken about this. Ta could also mean she. Don't forget. You remember we said here and anta can be what? Can have the same. So antum anta ta'kulu wa hiya ta'kulu. So ta can also be she. So you would need the context to be able to figure out, is it about she or is about you? Don't forget. Okay, this is a very important information. Okay, the last one here is ta and ina. Ta and ina. Anti ta'kulina. Ta and ina is special for feminine singular. Now, what did we say about these letters yesterday? An, lan, likay, hatta, idan. We said that they are harfs of light. What do? They bring the fi'l mudhari. They come before fi'l mudhari, and then they make the fi'l mudhari light. Light means having fatha, right? So we say, for instance, okay, I'll look at examples here. Al-fi'l mudhari that appears after these letters has to be light. Light means it has to be take fatha. For instance, yadrusu, he studied. An yadrusa, you see. Huwa yadrusu. Huwa yadrusu fi madrasatina. He learns or he studies in our school. Huwa yuridu an yadrusa fi madrasatina. He wants to study in our school. So an yadrusa. Lan yadrusa, he will not or he will never study. Likay yadrusa, so that he studies. Hatta yadrusa, until he studies. So all these, all they do is to make the fi'l mudhari light, right? The normal fi'l mudhari is here, the light fi'l mudhari is here, okay? And then yu'minuna and an yu'minu, look at how to drop the noon. So it's either make it fatha or you drop the noon. If it's having a noon, drop it to become light. So an yu'minu, lan yu'minu, kay yu'minu, atta yu'minu, that's the light form. Remember that hunna and antunna form do not change. So if it was antunna, you can just say antunna tu'min, then you remove. Antu'minna, antunna tu'minna, antunna tu'minna, antunna turidna, antu'minna. You cannot remove the noon there, right? Very good. The last one here says an example of that is lan yaktubna. So an yaktubna, lan yaktubna, kay yaktubna, atta yaktubna. Without it also is still yaktubna. In rafa, in normal status is yaktubna, in light status is yaktubna, and even in lighter status is also yaktubna, right? So this is the nasb of fi'l mudhari. Good. Let's look at the jazm of fi'l mudhari. That is making the fi'l mudhari lightest. These are the harfs that we learned yesterday. In, lam, lamma, wal, falli. All these ones make the fi'l mudhari lightest. For instance, yansuru, in yansur, and lam yansur. Okay, the same thing here. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay, in yansur, lan yansur. But if it is having the noon at the end, in yansura instead of yansurani, in yansuru instead of yansuruna, in tansuri instead of tansuri, tansurina, and so on. Very good. Fi'l mudhari lightest. These are the example of light, light, and normal and lightest. Okay. So yansuru is normal. Yansura is light. Yansur is lightest. Yansurani is normal. So normal would always have either the u if it is not having the ending combination, but it will have the noon if it's having ending combination. It becomes light or lightest when you drop the noon or you make it fatha or sukun respectively. So here we have yansurani, normal, because the noon is there. Yansura, light or lightest. I'm saying or lightest because the noon has dropped. It can be light, it can be lightest, depending on which of the harfs came before the fi'l. Yansuruna is normal because the noon is there. Yansuru is light because the noon has dropped, or lightest because I cannot determine if it is light or lightest until I see which harf came here. On ansuru is normal because the u is there. Ansura is light, ansur, lightest. And then hunna yansurna and antunna tansurna. Their light and lightest form looks like the normal form. No change, as we said at the beginning, right? And then remember, it says, past tense do not have light or lightest. Only the present tense has. Okay? Don't forget this. No, none of you have reminded me to check if really I'm recording, right? Let me just be sure of that and come back to you. None of you have reminded me if I was recording. And I'm sure you can also see if I'm recording. So please remind me anytime it happens that I'm not sure I'm recording. So I think I am. Okay. Okay. So let's go further. Before we go further, at least we have shared very important aspects of the fi'l madi and fi'l mudhari. Fi'l madi is always the same. I mean, it does not have light or lightest, but we have shown the trick or the tip of how to identify the doer in fi'l madi. You know, you group them. The third persons, you will see that the ending is having the even with the attached, something attached to it, right? But the second persons to the third persons, sorry, the second person to the first person, all of them will have a sukun at the last letter of the fi'l, right? And then for the second persons, you just remove the an, and then you bring the last ending of the pronoun so that you identify who the doer is. When it comes to fi'l mudhari, you identify the doer by the beginning harf, which is one of the anita, and the ending. The beginning will tell you the pronoun, and the ending will tell you the number. Again, the beginning will tell you which pronoun is it, and then the ending will tell you the number of that particular pronoun. So ya is about huwa. Ani, two of them. So two of them, two of huwa becomes what? Woman. Okay? Ya and una. Ya is about he. Una is about many of them. So many of them, masculine. Ta is about, and so on. So you need to go sit down and look at some of these tips. They will help you in understanding Baba Salami. I'm not sure. Why can't you get us more storage, Baba Salami? Okay, let's go for a short break. We'll come back to continue. Sorry for taking more time this time for this particular segment. We'll come back shortly, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Okay. I hope you can all see me, and I hope you don't have issue with my screen. Can you all see my screen, please? Yeah. I hope you can see my screen. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay. Now, now that we are able to understand the concept of fail, in that they are in three, well, we have just taken two of them, madi, mudhari. We'll take amr later, because amr has its peculiar case. But now that we are saying madi, mudhari, because yesterday we took the amr, but I'm going to talk about the amr later. And we are able to determine how to detect. Am I frozen? Am I frozen? Okay, I think I'm fine now. We are able to detect how to see the fa'il in the fa'il, because we say every fa'il is a sentence. Every fa'il is a sentence because there is an action and the doer. And how do you detect the doer in the fa'il madi? We have said the clue. The clue are that if it's standing alone without anything attached to the fi'il madi at the end, is about huwa. So you see it having the a at the end, right? If it is attached with any of the pronouns, okay, if the doer in there is for any of the pronouns, you still see at the ending having the a, except of course the u because of the wow, right? And then from there you will know that, okay, that shows that it is here, the u shows that it is they, and then the a is both of them, okay? And then the na, both shows that it is a lot of them feminine, right? And then when we came to the second person, we said the ending of the pronouns themselves, the independent pronouns like anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. These six, second person, the clue is that if you want to know that if they are the doer in a fa'il, you realize that just take off the an in all of them. Take off the an, remove the an and pick the ta. The ta will be added to the fa'il. So you see akel ta. So it's because the doer is an ta. Akel tuma, because the doer is an tuma. So it's the an that we take off, and then you see the ending of it attached to the fa'il. When it comes to the last part, which is the ana and nahnu, it is that ana is two, very peculiar, two, okay? And then na is for us. These are two unique ones, right? So if you know that you are done with madi, mudhari, how do you know mudhari? The ya is for huwa. Ya is for huwa. So ya determines the pronoun, if it is third person, second person, or first person. And then the una at the end determines that there are many, so the number. Ani for two of them, okay? Ani for two of them, una for a lot of them. Na is for many feminine or feminine plural. So you sit down and you look at these clues that I've just shared, and you'll be able to determine who the doer is inside the fi'l, right? When it comes to fi'l amr, I'll talk about it later, but it's very easy. For the fi'l amr, the doer is only one person. Out of the three persons we have are what? He, ghaib, and what in front of you, mukhatab, and mutakallim. The doer in fi'l amr is only mukhatab. So it's the middle line. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana. Sorry, without the ana. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. These six are the doers in fi'l amr. So you say nasar, sorry, unsur, unsura, unsuru, unsuri, unsuri, unsura, and unsurna. This is I think we didn't run through this this drill yesterday with fi'l amr. So instead of, so you don't have the huwa, huma, hum, here, huma, hunna. We don't also have the ana, nahnu. We have only for anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna for fi'l amr. So you say uktub anta, uktuba antuma, uktubu antum, uktubi anti, Uktuba, antuma, and then uktubna, antunna. Okay, very good. And of course, we said we did mention how to say either uktub or ijlis yesterday. We mentioned that one. That is not the time for now. Now, after we have seen these tricks, right, of identifying the dua inside the fi'l, let's now come and share something about fa'il. Either the inside, which we have just spoken about. Now we don't need to speak about inside dua again. Inside dua has to do with a fi'l, and the inside dua can either be huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. These are the pronouns that can be inside duas, and there are certain tips for you to understand them. We have spoken about them. Now let's talk about fa'il when it is an outside fa'il. When the dua is outside, can the dua be outside? Yes. Even with a fi'il? Yes. So what happened? Would the pronoun go out and become a dua outside? No. A pronoun, if it is outside, is no more a dua. Note. The dua, if it is outside, is a name of something, somebody. Right? So the dua, if it is inside, is a pronoun. Okay? When it comes outside, it's something else. Don't say it's a dua. Please note. Here we are talking about outside dua. And outside duas are any ism. Any ism can also become an outside dua. So the fi'l itself will have its own dua inside, and then there will be an outside dua. How then can two merge, or how do we merge them? We'll come to know that, okay. If there is an outside dua, now note this. This is a very good tip, but note this. There can be an outside dua. When there's an outside dua, the inside dua is downplayed. You downplay it. So when I say, ضرب الأستاذ التلميذ, ضرب الأستاذ التلميذ. So ضرب, you realize there's a fa'il inside. ضرب, right? ضرب, he hit. He hit. Then I got al-ustazu. So who did the hitting? It's the ustaz. So here, the outside dua al-ustaz, okay, overshadowed the he, which is in the daraba. So that's how it happened. So anytime there is an ism in front of the fi'l, or after the fi'l, whatever it be, it can be attached to it, it can be far away. Just look at any ism that is in rafa status. That is the outside dua. So if there is an outside dua, you don't consider the pronoun inside the fi'l or the inside pronoun. Then you say the dua is ustazu. You don't say the dua is huwa. No. Right? Akalat Fatimatu at-ta'ama. Akalat Fatimatu at-ta'ama. Fatimatu ate food. So akalat, there is already a dua there here, isn't it? Then there is Fatima. What do we say here? There is a fa'il, which is Fatima too. How do I know it is Fatima? Because Fatima is the first rafa ism. Now note this, rafa ism after the fi'il. Anytime you see a rafa ism after the fi'il, that rafa ism becomes fa'il. The fa'il is not the here. The fa'il is Fatima. So that downplays the inside fa'il that is in akalat. Are you following? Number two, if the ustads, there are two of them, I will still say ضرب الأستاذان التلميذين. ضرب الأستاذان. It's still ضرب, but the ustadani are two. The two teachers hit the two students. But ضرب is still ضرب. Note. So it maintains the gender, but the number, they are different. So still maintain ضرب, not ضرب. Are you following? ضرب الأساتذة التلاميذ. ضرب الأساتذة. Asatiza is the jam of ustaz. Still, asatiza is jam, but ضرب is still ضرب. That's how outside duas are. Outside dua can change in numbers. It can be singular, pair, plural, but the fi'il will still maintain in a singular huwa form. It's a very important qaida, and you need to note it down and share it because it's a little bit confusing sometimes. The second other one for the feminine will also be here. So akalat Fatimatu ta'ama, akalat Fatimatani ta'ama, wa akalat Fatimatu at-ta'am. So Fatimat and Fatimatan and Fatima are all different numbers, but the akalat is still akalat. That's how you determine an outside dua. An outside dua can change in number and gender, but the fi'l would always maintain only the gender, but it will be in the singular huwa or here form. So basically that's how you understand. But apart from the huwa and here form, any form of the fi'l can then be what? An inside dua. So you can't have an outside dua with a fi'l that is having the huwa form or hum form or hunna. For instance, when you say akalu, it's plural, hum, it cannot be an outside dua. When you say akala, there cannot be an outside dua. The dua is inside. When you say akaltu, there can't be an outside dua. So you see how to detect an outside dua. An outside dua can only be in a state where the fi'l is in huwa or here form. Right? Good. Now let's look at this slide quickly. Now, how do we say the teacher helped? How do we say the teacher helped? Oh, somebody's not trying to give me a heads up. Yes, the screen was blank. Sorry. Yes, the screen just came up. I was explaining. Okay, good. Yes. Okay. So how do you say the teacher helped? This is not a pronoun. So the teacher here is not a pronoun, right? So what do? There is he helped. And so for instance, when I say Nasara, of course, how do you say the teacher helped? Nasara al-ustazu. Nasara al-ustadu. So al-ustadu. Okay, Nasara al-ustadu. In this case, there's not a pronoun. It's not about a pronoun. It's about the ustaz. Even though I said Nasara huwa. Nasara huwa. Now, to understand this, we need to know that in Arabic, the dua of the fi'l can either be inside or outside. Note, the dua of the fi'l can either be inside or outside. An example of inside dua is the fi'l madi chart, which we learned about, okay, that we memorize. I have memorized it. Nasara, nasara, nasaru, nasarat, nasarata, nasarna, nasarta, nasartuma, nasartum, nasarti, nasartuma, nasartunna, nasartu, nasarna. That's what it means here. There were pronouns in front of each of them. Of course, you remember there were pronouns where we said huwa nasara, huma nasara, hum nasaru, hiya nasarat, huma nasarata, hunna nasarna, anta nasarta, antuma nasartuma, antum nasartum, anti nasarti, antuma nasartuma, antunna nasartunna, ana nasartu, nahnu nasarna. Right? Good. That shows that the pronoun is the actual dua within the fi'l, right? Now, if you want to say the teacher helped, which conjugation do you use since each fi'l has an inside pronoun? How do you conjugate it? How do you conjugate, or which of the form of the fi'l would you use? It says only the huwa and here can be used with an outside pronoun. And that is the rule. Take this rule and you will be healed a big time. To have an outside dua, al-fa'il, al-baris. Okay, baris means an outside, not mustatir, it's not inside. If the fa'il is baris, then the fi'il must be in either the huwa form or the hiya form, either nasara or nasarat. Then the fa'il can be outside. I said can because not all the time. Just look in front of the jumla or the ayah and see if there is any ism that is on rafa status. So nasara al-ustazu, for instance. So al-ustazu is the dua here. Why? This one is in huwa form and this one is a rafa ism. Easy, isn't it? Good. Inside and outside dua. Again, what is the status of ustaz in what we just mentioned? The ustaz is in rafa status. That means it is a dua. When you have an outside dua, it takes the place of the inside dua. That's what I did mention earlier, right? So it is not he, the ustaz helped. That's not how we translate it. Okay, because when you say nasara, he helped. and then al-ustazu. So you might be tempted to say, he, the ustaz, helped. It is simple. What you say is that the ustaz helped, even though in the nasara there is the meaning of he helped, and in the ustaz there is ustaz, right? So outside doers need to meet two conditions, very important. An outside doer has two conditions. It has to be after the fi'l, number one. It does not have to be right after the fi'l, but it has to be after the fi'l. So nasara, then you saw the ustaz, or nasara ustaz, or nasara ustaz, or nasara ustaz. The moment you see ustazu, wherever it is in the ayah, in rafa status, that is the doer. So you have to hold on. If you see a fi'l in the huwa or here form, don't jump and say the doer is huwa, but you have to look into the end, and that's why you don't do i'rab until you read the sentence at least 3 times. You need to be able to know how to determine who the doer is. Okay? Very, very important. Now, that's the first rule. The second rule is that it has to be in rafa status. What is rafa status? So it has to be either ustazu or ustadhani, okay? Ani, of course, because there are two, or asatiza two. Or it has to be in a singular pair, plural. And ustazu is a dhamma. For instance, muallimu and muallimani and muallimuna, all in rafa status. Or if the ism itself is non-flexible, that's also another one for it to be a doer. Or yes, if the ism is non-flexible, or if it has an una or ani or u at the end. U if it is singular, ani if it is pair, una if it is plural masculine, atun if it is feminine masculine, or if it is a non-flexible ism like Musa, which does not show the ending at all. Okay, so it has to be in rafa status, and it has to come after the fi'l. Okay, remember, the only time you look for an outside doer is when the fi'l is in huwa or here form, like Nasar al-Muslimani. Okay, is this an outside doer or an inside doer? It's an outside doer because ani is in rafa status and it has come after the fi'l nasara. So this is an outside doer. Fa'ilun barizun. Okay, since it matches both condition. What is the condition? It comes after the fi'l. Yes, this is the fi'l, this is the fa'il, and then it is in rafa status. Remember your Muslim chart. Muslimun, Muslimani, Muslimuna, rafa. Musliman, Muslimaini, Muslimina, nasb. Muslimin, Muslimaini, Muslimina, jar. You remember that Muslim chart? You have not remembered it. That means you have not memorized it. You will do that. Because of course, when we come to the full-blown program, you just have to memorize it for you to go forward. Okay? So these are outside doors, and that's how they work. Now, briefly, let's now go and look at pronouns that are attached. We did mention about attaching pronouns. So every field has a pronoun attached inside it. But they can also have pronoun attached. I remember, is it Usman who was making that submission when we did mention we have a pronoun attached to a field, and then he was confused which of the pronoun is attached. Now, pronouns that are inside the field are not attached pronouns. Note this. Pronouns inside the fi'l are the fa'il. They are not attached pronouns. Attached pronouns are pronouns that are attached to the fi'l to be a maf'ul. Those are known as the attached pronoun. Because the pronoun inside the fi'l is not attached. It's part of the fi'l. You remember what we said? No fi'l without the fa'il. So fi'l and fa'il is one thing in Arabic. Isn't that interesting? So attached pronoun means a pronoun that is not that pronoun that is inside the fi'l. That's the attached pronoun. Okay. For instance, when I say Nasara ka, so what is this ka? It's the pronoun. Ka is from the attached pronoun anta, right? The equivalent of anta. You remember your pronouns and the attached pronouns. What are the pronouns? Huwa huma hum, hiya huma hunna, anta antuma antum, anti antuma antunna, ana nahnu. What is the attached equivalent or ana? Ana is who he. Sorry, not ana. Huwa is who he. Huma, huma hima. Hum him. Here, ha, huma, huma hima. Hum him. Anta, ka. Antuma, kuma. Antum, kum. Anti, ki. Antuma, kuma. Antunna, kunna. Ana, ni au i. depending. The ni is attached to a fi'il, the e is attached to an ism, and then nahnu is na. These attached pronouns need to also be put in the same template. So when I say ka is about anta, ka is from the attached pronoun. When you find an attached pronoun on a fi'il, ignore it. You remember this? But for you to understand the translation of an attached pronoun to a fi'il, okay, how do you know it? How do you translate it well? First of all, detach it and then ignore it. And then you translate the fi'il. When you translate the fi'il, then you put them together. So for instance, nasara means help. He helped. Now add the kaf, which is you. So nasaraka, he helped you. For instance, qatala hum. Qatala hum. Is there an attached pronoun? Yes. Hum is the attached pronoun. What do we do next? Ignore it. Ignore the attached pronoun and then translate qatala, which means he fought, and then attach the hum, which is they, them in that case. Okay? Them. Now you translate it. The attached pronoun is hum, which is them. So he fought them. He fought them. So the inside pronoun in Nasara is not an attached pronoun. I hope this is clear. I think for Usman, or if I remember that confusion that came onto you yesterday, or is it last week, right? Good. So that is for attached pronoun to a fi'il. Pronoun status, again, a pronoun can be in Rafa, okay, status. So Rafa pronouns are independent pronouns, okay, and the pronouns inside the fi'il. So all the independent pronouns are fi mahall Rafa. That is anta, antuma, antum, huwa, huma, hum, hiya, huma, hunna, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna, ana, nahnu. They are all in Rafa status, fi mahall Rafa. All the pronouns inside the fi'il is also dhamirun mustatirun. Okay, dhamirun mustatirun fi mahall Rafa. Okay, so we say that they are all the inside pronouns are also doers, so they are in Rafa status. So that is the pronouns that are in Rafa status. Pronouns that in nasb status are the pronouns when attached to harf of nasb. You remember harf of nasb? Inna, anna, ka, anna, bi, anna, li, anna, ka, ba, lakinna, later, and la'alla. If they are attached to a pronoun, then that pronoun becomes in the status of nasb. Fi mahall nasb, ism inna. For instance, innahu kana, or innaka ala kulli. Innaka. So inna and its ism. So the ka is dhamir mabni fi mahall nasb. Okay, that ka is in the status of nasb. When attached to a fi'il also, they are nasb because they are detailed or they are victims of the action. So when I say daraba ni, so the ni is an attached pronoun for ana. Okay, so there you say that attached pronoun is in nasb status because the action fell on it. So these are the two status where, or situations where a pronoun can also be in nasb status. How does a pronoun become in jar status? When attached to harf of jar. You remember your harf of huruf al-jar? Batakala wa, min fi'an ala hatta ila. Okay? Anytime a harf is attached, a pronoun is attached to it, it becomes fi mahal jar. Fihi. Fihi. He is a pronoun, so it is majrur. Bifi. Ilayhi or ilayna. Ila and na. Okay, that's the status where, or the situation where harf, a pronoun can be fi mahal jar. And also when it is attached to an ism, then it becomes mudaf ilayhi, like kitabuka. So the ka is anta. Kitabuka, your book. In this case, it's also fi mahal jar. Damir mabni al fatha fi mahal jar. Right? That's how we say. So pronouns can be in the status of rafa, they can be in the status of nasb, and they can be in the status of jar. Now we come to maf'ul. I will take a short break and come back and discuss maf'ul bihi. Stay on with us because now, we are just looking at details of what we did yesterday. Okay, every jumla fi'liyyah has a fi'il, fa'il, maf'ul. Every jumla fi'liyyah has a fi'il, fa'il, maf'ul, and MBF, muta'allik bifa'il. We'll talk about it. Just as in jumla ismiyah, every jumla ismiyah has mubtada, khabar, muta'allik bi khabar. In jumla fi'liyyah, we have fi'il, fa'il, maf'ul, and muta'allik bifa'il. We'll come and look at the maf'ul because we have seen a lot about the fi'il and fa'il now. Now there is nothing new about fi'il, fa'il, and how to teach the student on how to understand or how to really understand the concept of fi'l and fa'il. We'll come and talk about maf'ul bihi shortly. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. السلام عليكم. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. You're welcome once again. Now we are going to talk about maf'ul and its types. Now, what is maf'ul? So you can see the word fa'ala. So maf'ul is something that receives the action of the fa'il, the victim. We call it the victim of the fa'il, or the done to. So doer and done to. Doer and done to. Doer and detail of action. Doer and victim. So the victim has a lot of names that we call it, terminologies we use for this particular program. So maf'ul, how do we determine the maf'ul? What really are the questions we ask to know that this one is maf'ul? Without, even if there is no harakat, how do we detect maf'ul? These are some of the things that we are going to learn here, inshallah. Now note, for instance, when you say, I ate, sorry, I hope I am recording. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I can't find the topic. We are doing fi'l, all the fi'ls, from fi'l to the end. In fact, with the handouts you are having, Hawa, just read through, okay? Because we have almost finished it yesterday, right? So we are doing all the fi'ls, madi, mudhari, amr, okay? Madi, mudhari, amr. That's an expansion. We are, explaining detail of what we did yesterday. The flyers or the slides yesterday would have given you exactly where we are, but it's all in the fi'l. So we are talking about fi'l, madi, and mudhari, and amr, and how to detect the fa'il and maf'ul in them. Okay. Now, when you say, I ate an apple outside yesterday, quickly, out of hunger, this is a normal statement. Now, in this statement, for somebody who learns nahy, what you ask yourself is, what do I understand in the sentence, and how do I interpret it and even share it to someone? Because you see, now, as we learn it now, as it comes to dawn onto me, is that we used to learn nahy as an academic subject, but actually it should go into practicalizing how we understand the Quran. And it's because we don't do this exercise and we're not conscious of it. We thought that nahy is just know the fa'il, maf'ul, and so on. But what does it mean to you? What does it mean to you? And these are some of the things that we learn here to understand. When I say I ate an apple outside yesterday quickly, out of hunger, it means I am the doer of the eating. And what I did was to eat, and that is the fa'il. What did I eat? Is the apple, so it's a what? What did I eat? When did I eat it? Outside. When did I eat it? Yesterday. How did I do the eating? Quickly. And why did I do so? Is out of hunger. Now, all these questions that have been asked, okay, these questions determined the position of these words, that these words are all part of maf'ul. So you see the kinds of maf'ul. So any action you do, so you see maf'ul has a lot of type, but the fa'il is just the one who did the action, and then the action you can know, right? So I did that. How did I do it? What did I do? Where did I do it? When did I do it? How did I do it? And why did I do it? All part of the indication. So this maf'ul, but we see how these maf'uls are all considered. So why do you have a fa'il? You have a set of, so when you have a fa'il, you have sets of questions that you ask yourself anytime you see a fa'il. So in that particular instance, when we have the fa'il ate, so you ask the question, who did the eating? That one who did the eating will be in rafa status, because he is what? The doer. All the rest will be in nasb status. Why? Because they are the done to. They are all part of the action. They are all victim of the action done by this. So doers are in rafa status. All the done to, all the maf'uls are in nasb status. So what they ate, or what did they eat, and why did they eat, and where did they eat, and how did they eat, and when did they eat? All these are maf'ul, right? They are all different kinds of maf'uls. Then you look at their names, technically how we refer to them in Arabic or in Nahu. So these are the details where they are called maf'ul. And that is why, so from now on, when you do the Arab, I will not accept maf'ul bihi. You need to tell me if it is maf'ul bihi, maf'ul lahu, maf'ul fihi, maf'ul hal. I'm left with one. Sorry, I couldn't put it here. Maf'ul mutlaq. Okay, maf'ul mutlaq is not put here, and that is how badly something is done, or how dire. Okay, how badly something is done. So maf'ul bihi answers the question: who did it? What did he do? Okay. Sorry, not who did it. To whom the thing is done and what was done. Okay. Maf'ul lahu speaks about why the thing was done. Why? Maf'ul lahu. Maf'ul fihi is when or where the thing was done. And then maf'ul hal is how the thing was done. An example from Al-Quran. وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ وَرَفَعْنَا فَوْقَكُمُ الطُّورَ, and we raise unto you the mountains. Okay, fawqa, this word fawqakum, where is talking about the word. So we raised. This is the fi'l and the fa'il. The rest of this are the maf'uls. We raised the mountain upon you. Okay, so fawqa is where did we raise it. Okay, where did we raise it? So it's about place. Okay, so it's maf'ul fihi. The place where is here. When and where, maf'ul fihi. What did we raise? At-tura. So you see, this fawqa is maf'ul, this tura is also maf'ul. It's not fawqakum. Fawqakum, the kum of course is mudhaf ilayhi, because this one is a special mudhaf. You remember that special mudhaf? But in this case, it is maf'ul bihi. But not, this fatah here is not the fatah of maf'ul bihi. This one is fatah, part of the special mudhaf, because it's non-flexible. Don't forget that. Okay, but it is in the status of nasb. So you say maf'ul bihi, so it's mabni fi mahal nasb. Okay, zarf makan mabni fi mahal nasb. Maf'ul bihi huwa mudhaf wa huwa mudhaf ilayh. At-tura is the second maf'ul here. It's talking about what was raised. So the where and the what are all kinds of maf'ul. Okay, now let's come to components of the jumla itself. You remember I was talking about the components of jumla ismiya. Now let's look at some details in the components of jumla fi'liyyah. Every fi'l is a sentence. Remember, when we say this, you know, it takes me back to this information, or this idea that nahu is a subject that needs a lot of art, right? Unlike sarf is more like a scientific subject. 1 + 1 is 2. More like that. Nahu, there's a flair that they need some artistic touch. You know, when you are given an analysis to do, that analysis can be looked in another way, actually, right? And it can also be the same. But there are certain fundamental things that both of you need to agree on. For jumla ismiya, those one we have mentioned, mubtada khabar and muta'alliq bi khabar, or MBK. For jumla fi'liyyah, every fi'il must have a fa'il, and this is a core rule. You can't miss this. You can't have a fi'il, do the i'rab of a fi'il, and then you go and start doing a i'rab of something else. Where is your fa'il? So we say that the fi'il is the action itself, and the fa'il is the doer. So that fa'il can either be inside or outside. We mentioned this. And then after that, we have the detail. The detail of the action can be maf'ul bihi, maf'ul lahu, maf'ul fihi, maf'ul hal, as well as maf'ul mutlaq, which I said I've forgotten, I didn't bring. And I'm sure you all know it. So inside pronoun means that it is inside the fi'il. Note, and this one goes to some of you. Inside means it's inside the fi'il itself, and it's part of the fi'il. That one you can't remove it from the fi'il, because in Arabic or in Nahu, we don't say that there is a fi'il and then there is something else. No, every fi'il has a fa'il. Okay, so fundamentally we say the details are in nasb status, right? All the details or the victims of an action is in nasb or are in nasb status. Still, components of jumla fi'liyyah. You know, we are learning this. To all these things I'm telling you today, brothers, these are tips. These are not how, and that is why my sister Hawa was saying you can't find it in the book. In fact, no book explains these things to you. I want to make it clear to you. No book. You won't get a book giving you these details. These details can get it always in a class. And not all the teachers will tell you some of these tips, particularly those ones that makes it easier for some of us who speak English to understand the rules, right? Now, so there are details that are more than just nasb. Note, some of the details are not only nasb, but for instance, they can be jar wa majrur. So jar wa majrur are also part of the details of the action. Okay? Okay? Dakhala fil ghurfa. Note, dakhala fi al ghurfa, for instance. Coincidentally, okay, that's even the word here. I didn't even look at the screen. When I say dakhala fil ghurfa, he entered. Where did he enter? Are you realizing that fil ghurfa becomes maf'ul, even though it's jar wa majrur? Where did he enter? So where? Something like that. So it's also part of the detail. It's also fi mahall nasb maf'ul bihi. So jar wa majrur is MBF, but can also be analyzed as maf'ul bihi. So I ate in the room, for instance. I ate in the room. So the question is, where did you eat? So in the room, okay, is not one word though, but it is part of the detail. So in Arabic, we would say fil ghurfa, this one becomes the jar majrur fi mahall nasb maf'ul bihi. Okay, so maf'ul fihi in this case, maf'ul fihi, where? Okay, so what type of maf'ul? Okay, allamnahu, that's called maf'ul fihi. Allamnahu, we taught him. We taught him. So what did we teach him? This is maf'ul bihi. What did we teach him? Because it answers the question of who did we teach? Okay, sorry, who did we teach? Allamna who? It's asked the question. Sorry, who did we teach? Allamna who? We taught him. Okay, not it. We taught him. So he is the one who taught whom we taught, and so he answers the question of who did we teach? Dakhalu who? They entered it. So it's maf'ul bihi. Okay. Inni da'awtu qawmi laylan wa nahara. Inni da'awtu. Indeed, I call unto. I call unto whom? My people. So who did I call? Or who did I invite? So qawmi is the one I invite. So it's maf'ul bihi, because it's about who. So this is a maf'ul bihi because it answers who did I invite. Laylan wa naharan. This is a maf'ul fihi because it answers where, or sorry, when did I invite them? Laylan wa naharan. So this is maf'ul fihi. So you see how maf'ul fihi speaks about time or place, and then maf'ul bihi speaks about who or what. Right? Good. Now let's look at the sequence of Jumlah Fi'liyyah. Normally, this is how Jumlah Fi'liyyah occurs. Fi'il, fa'il, maf'ul. So always when you see the fi'il, the second thing is the fa'il, and then maf'ul. Okay? So akala Muhammadun at-ta'ama. Daraba al-ustazu at-tilmidha. Somebody was telling me that. Why do I like saying Daraba al-ustazu at-tilmidha, which means the ustaz has hit or has beaten the. I said, well, when we grew up, the first thing about the ustaz is about bulala. So it's so we can remember that one very, very, very clear. So anytime Daraba comes, it's an ustaz, right? Okay. So that's by the way. So Ketaba at-tilmidhu ad-darsa. That's the normal sequence, right? But it can be also unusual. Unusual sequence is to get maf'ul bihi and then fi'il and fa'il. It can happen, okay? You can have maf'ul bihi, okay? Then you have the fi'il and then you have fa'il, okay? But note that the fa'il will always come after the fi'il. Have you seen that? Okay? Huh? The fi'il will always come. For instance, when you say Iyaka na'abudu, Iyaka na'abudu, so the Iyaka is maf'ul, muqaddam. Okay? So this is the unusual sequence. Or say we say Tawakkalna ala Allah. We rely on Allah. What if we say ala Allahi tawakkalna? Is it not also the same statement? Okay, we rely only on Allah. So anytime you see this kind of bringing forward, it means there is exclusivity. Okay, we call it exclusivity. Somebody is designing on our screen. Oh, please don't let me start putting some restriction to us. This is the first time we are seeing this, right? Please don't use any annotation, right? Okay. Now, so we say ala Allah tawakkalna ala jar wa majrur fi mahall nasb, right? Maf'ul bihi muqaddam. Then tawakkalna is the fi'l, and then na is the tawakkal is the fi'l, and then na is the fa'il. So we rely. So only on Allah, we rely only on Allah. You can even say only on Allah we rely. That even make it even more powerful. Amanna billahi wa ala Allahi tawakkalna. So amanna billahi, order is not switch in this case, right? So we would translate it normal. We believe in him. So amanna billahi. Wa ala Allah wa alayhi tawakkalna, and we only rely on him. Because the order now has been switched, so the word only comes to show that there is some meaning of exclusivity here. How would you say Allah helped all of you? Allah helped all of you. How do you say that? You would need to bring the attached pronoun of all of you. So kum. So you bring it on nasara. So you say nasarakumullah. Nasarakum Allahu. Okay. This is not an abnormal order. This one is normal order. Nasarakum Allahu. Because the fi'il has come, even though the maf'ul bihi has come before the fa'il, but in this case, it is a normal order because they all occur after the fi'il, right? So this is not abnormal. This is normal, you know, to have the maf'ul attached to the fi'il, right? Good. Jumla ismiya, we have understood it, and we have also understood Jumlah Fi'liyyah. But what is this interplay? How do they interplay? Sometimes we need to understand this one also. Now note this. Nasara al-Muslimu and Nasara al-Muslimani and Nasara al-Muslimuna. You remember I explained this thing to you earlier. I said you can see an outside doer by seeing the action and then moving forward to see if there is any rafa ism. This one is a rafa ism. This one is a rafa ism. This one is rafa ism. Rafa ism means marfu. Ismun marfu. Okay? Ismun marfu. Okay? How do you know that there is an ism al-marfu? Then you will have to see the fa'il and then move forward and see if there is any rafa ism. This one is marfu because it is una, hum. It's not marfu because of the wow. Please note that yes, it's good we have learned this before, but it did not really, it doesn't help us in saying that the wow is the doer. Wow cannot be a doer. A doer is the pronoun. Hum is the doer. I think when we understand it that way, it makes it easy to comprehend. When you say hum, okay, in the case of yakuluna, for instance, or yadrusuna, and so on, okay. But muslimuna is the doer here because of the una. Muslimani is the doer here because of the ani, and muslimu the doer because of the u. Okay, so rafa isms come after the fi'il. Will tell you that it is Jumlah Fi'liyyah and the doer is outside. So if al-Muslimu is in the beginning, it cannot be fa'il. This is another confusion that sometimes happens. You know, if this Muslimu becomes here, for instance, al-Muslimu nasara, this one is not Jumlah Fi'liyyah. This one becomes Jumlah. Sorry, this one is not Jumlah Ismiya. Sorry. Yes, this one is not Jumlah Fi'liyyah. It is Jumlah Ismiya because it starts with an ism. Okay? And we'll look at the translation afterwards. But in this case, you don't say that this is the doer because you think that, oh, but he helped. In English, it's the same thing. Right? He helped. But why is it not the same thing? But in Arabic, it becomes Jumlah Ismiya. So this one becomes Mubtada, and this one, the Fi'il and the Fa'il becomes Khabar. Al-Muslimani Nasara, have you seen that it has changed? Al-Muslimuna Nasaru, you see it has changed. So if it is Jumlah Fi'liyyah and the Fi'il comes before the Fa'il, then the Fi'il will maintain only one number. It doesn't matter the number of the Fa'il. But if the fi'l comes after the ism, which is mubtada, and the fi'l refers to it, then the fi'l would be in consonance with the gender and the number of the ism. So this one is one and masculine, this one is one, masculine, one, two masculine, many masculine, right? But here it's only singular, though masculine, only singular, though masculine, only singular, though masculine, because the dua is masculine. Okay, so this is the explanation that we have down here. It says in this second batch of sentences, get not confused the conversion of the conversion of ism with the conversion of the fi'l. So the fi'l will be in consonant with this ism. The difference between the first set, this is this one of the three, and second set of three is that you have an inside fa'il. This one you have a fa'il here, but the outside, this one is a outside fa'il. This one has an inside fa'il. This one you don't say the fa'il is huwa. This one you say the fa'il is Muslim, but in this case the fa'il is huwa. The fa'il is not Muslim. Please don't make this mistake. Don't make this mistake. There is no fa'il as Muslim here. The fa'il is huwa, the fa'il is huma, the fa'il is hum. Okay. So in the first set, the outside fa'il is firing the inside fa'il. Yes. So here the outside fa'il now downplays the inside fa'il here. It's not heard, right? So that's some of the confusions between Jumla Ismiya and Fi'liyyah. So a closer translation for the second set, and that is where we have the ism coming first. It will be the Muslim he helped. Actually, that's how it is physically, right? The Muslim, al-Muslimu, Nasara, he helped. Okay? For the dual, the two Muslims, al-Muslimani, both of them helped. Nasara. For the plural, al-Muslimuna, the Muslims, Nasaru, they help. That's how it sounds, right? But in English, you don't mainly do this translation. You just translate it directly, right? You say he helped, they helped, and they helped, right? The Muslims helped, and both of them helped, and he helped. For feminine, it's the same thing. Al-Muslimatu nasarat, al-Muslimatani nasarata, al-Muslimatu nasarna. You see, the number of the fi'l is in consonant with the number of the, the number and gender. The number and gender are in consonance, right? That is different from if the fi'l, like this one, comes before the fa'il. If it comes this way, then this fi'l will maintain a singular form always, even if the dua is in pair or plural. So you have to apply the number and gender to both when the fi'l is after the ism. Okay? And if the fi'l is after the ism, don't forget it is Jumlah Ismiya, not Jumlah Fi'liyyah. The rule says when the fi'l is before the rafa ism, it is a Jumlah Fi'liyyah. The fi'l remains huwa or hiya form, and therefore only gender has to match. Example, Nasarat al-Muslimat. The moment I say Nasarat, then the dua is also feminine. But this one will maintain being singular, even if it is two. Nasarat al-Muslima tani. Nasarat al-Muslimatu. Nasarat al-Muslimatu. The same thing. When the rule here says when the fi'l is after the rafa ism, when the fi'l is after the rafa ism, it's Jumla Ismiya. Then the fi'l must match the ism in number and gender. Okay? Number and gender. Like this. Al-Muslimatani nasarata. Al-Muslimatani nasarata. But look at here. Nasarat as if she is only one. But Al-Muslimatani. Yeah. Okay. Now, then we come to the last part of the discussion, and that has to do with the Fil Amr, right? Fil Amr. Finally, we studied this and we mentioned yesterday that Fil Madi, Fil Mudhari, of course, Fil Mudhari has its own confusion of normal, light, and lightest. The Fil Amr is very, very interesting in that it only deals with the middle part of the pronouns. Anta, antuma, antum, Anti, antuma, antunna. Sorry, yes. Anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. So these are the 6 possible doers in fi'l amr. But let's look at some of the common observation about the language. This we mentioned yesterday and we explained it. We said that you cannot command in the past. So command will always be in the present or future, right? You can't command anything in the past. So it's not fi'l madi that we work with only fi'l al-mudhari. You can't also command someone who is not there. لا يمكنك أن تأمر من هو غائب. لا تأمر الغائب. All the amr is with al-mukhatab. Okay? So that is the U form version, is the only one that you can command. It's easy also to command, to forbid than to command. Yesterday, we did an explanation of this and we expatiated it by saying that it's easy to say forbid. Just bring your fi'l mudhari, put la onto it and make it lightest. Finish. So ta'kulu, la ta'kul. Finish. It becomes forbidden. That's why it's easy than command. To make the forbidden, you put a la in front of the fi'l mudhari and make it what? Lightest. Finish. For instance, anta tansuru, you help. You help, or normally you do help. It becomes what? La tansur, don't help. Just put la and make it lightest, right? La tansur. Difference between a statement and forbidden. Yesterday we mentioned this, that for you to understand that a particular fi'l mudhari is more of a statement, not forbidden. 1, you will not see the la if it is a statement. 2, it will not be lightest. In this case, it's lightest because the nun has dropped. So tahzanuna is what? Tahzanuna is mudhari, but it is normal mudhari because the nun is maintained. La tahzanu is lightest because number 1, the la is there and the nun has dropped, right? Steps to make a command. After we have seen steps to make the forbidden, steps to make the command. To make a command is very easy, but it needs some technicalities. What do? You still bring your fi'l mudhari, you make it lightest. So tujahiduna. Tujahiduna is fi'l mudhari. How do you make it lightest? First of all, you drop the nun, so it becomes tujahiduna. And then you delete the first letter, which is the fi'l mudhari letter, the anita letters, the anaitu harfs, right? You drop this particular ta and becomes what? Jahidu. Can you read it? It's fine. That is the amr. Finish. If the new first letter has a haraka, which means you can read it, okay, you are done. This is the command. So tujahidu becomes jahidu. Tujahidu becomes jahidu. That is the command. So what did you do? First of all, you make it lightest by dropping the nun. Secondly, you remove the sign of mudhari. If it is readable, you are done. If it is not readable, if the new first letter has a sukun, that means you can't read it. In Arabic, you don't start a word with a sukun. Therefore, it is given a helper alif, this alif at the beginning. Okay, the helper alif will either have an u sound or an e sound. You remember that? You remember that we said u and e, and we mentioned why would we have helper alif having u or e? Like, why don't we say ujlis? I said ijlis. I say ijlis, but when I want to say write, I will say uktub. I don't say iktub, right? I say uktub and ijlis and ukhruj, not ikhruj. Why so? Because the word kharaja yakhruju. So the fi'l mudhari form of kharaja is yakhruju. Now, if the last but one harf is having dhamma, then when you are making the fi'l amr, you make the helper alif dhamma. So you say ukhruj. But otherwise, if the last but one harf is having any other haraka, then you just make it kisra. Like jalasa, yajlisu, yajlisu. So li, so the li is having kisra. So if you are making the amr, you make it ijlis. Okay? Ijlis. Dhahaba, yazhabu. The last but one is having ha. So you make it idhab, not uzham. Anyway, those are the things we learned yesterday. So this brings us to the end of today's class. So quickly, I'm going to share with you something for more exercises. Take 2 minutes of a break and we come back and do some practicals. Please, the volunteers, get ready to share some things with me, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك والى اللقاء بعد دقيقتين او ثلاثه. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. وَبِهِ نَسْتَعِينُ. Quickly, let's continue and finish our class for the day. I hope we are all set and the chat here, I'm having somebody says, okay, Sheikh, I can't find the topic. Okay, we have discussed this. Actually, Hawa, is it Hawa? Yes. The sister Hawa is asking about the topic. Actually, a lot of the things that we are talking about is not in your, that handout is actually a summary mostly of what I'm discussing, and a lot of them are not in there, yes, and that's why the course is termed very intensive, but at least just to give you an idea of the topics that I'm discussing. But actually I want to discuss two other topics that might be very important, and so I will share another handout to you today, inshallah, and that has to do with a different kind of the same fields that we discussed today, but in their passive forms. That is mabni al-majhul. We'll look at mabni al-majhul briefly, inshallah, so that we'll add up to what we have done so far. Maybe we'll do that tomorrow to finish the Jumlah Fi'liyyah. Because Jumlah Fi'liyyah can be active and it can be passive. What we have learned today is the active, or what we have learned yesterday and today are the active form of the fi'l. We'll look at the passive form of the fi'l, inshallah, tomorrow. So I'll share a document with you to have that. But a lot of those things I'm talking about actually are not in what you are having. Because I know you are all actually lecturers and teachers in your own right. Usman says, Assalamu alaikum. We say al-amr and al-nahy always deal with only second person. How can we do the i'rab of فَلْيَضْحَكُوا كَثِيرًا وَلِّ. Okay, so it's not alif and lam, not okay. Yes, فَلْيَضْحَكُوا. Yes, you are right. But it's not saying yadhaku, it says فَلْيَضْحَكُوا. So it is something that they are asking to do in future. So it's amr. It's amr. Yadhaku is not fi'l mudhari. Okay? It's actually pushing them, asking them to do. Okay? And yes, so if I understand your question clearly, you are saying, how do we deal with? You deal with it as fi'l mu'amr, but that particular instruction is having the lam, which pushes the discussion into future. You remember we spoke about the lam, which means it should. It's one of the harfs that makes the fi'l mudhari lightest, right? Jawazim al-fi'l mudhari. So it makes it jazm by dropping the noon here. So فَلْيَضْحَكُوا. Okay, فَلْيَضْحَكُوا. Allah is saying they should. So he's saying they should. Is as if he is commanding them, but it's actually not a command here. Is the lam there make it the word, pushes the word into as if it is a command to those who are not present, but it's not commanding them actually. It is the lam that gives them that particular sense of command. So it contains the harf that makes mudhari lightest. Yes, it contains the harf, it makes the mudhari lighter, so it's making the mudhari there. So that's why it's fi'l mudhari, it's not fi'l amr. Right? It is the lam that makes it, a command. It's the lam, not the fi'l. The fi'l is fi'l mudhari. Very good. Okay. So now let's look at my slide. I have something on my slide. Finally. Okay. I hope you can see my screen. Okay. So we have finished this. Now let's do some exercises here for us to continue what we started yesterday. So idhab, for instance, here we are going to label. Label means i'rab, okay? Label. We're going to label it either C for commanding, F for forbidden, and observation. and also you translate, okay? And you can retrace the command. You have to retrace the commanding and forbidding to the original fi'l. Now, note, for instance, when I say izhab, it means to go. Okay, they say to go. This is not actually the translation of this. Okay, this one is in English is verb to go. They will say verb to go, but izhab means go. It doesn't mean to go. These are some of the mistakes that we do in translation. Izhab means go because there is a doer inside, anta. Okay, as we said, the doers are here, anta, antuma, antum, anti, antuma, antunna. Only 6 possible doers can be in fi'l amr. Okay, so number 1 here, it is a command because it's an amr. How do I know that it is an amr? Well, it's not a nahy because there is no la, so it's not a nahy. Now, how do we know that it's not an observation? Because it's lightest, so it's amr. So identification by exclusion, right? So go, okay, go, you masculine. So tazhabu is the fi'l mudhari normal. So the normal fi'l mudhari is tazhabu. So tazhabu is what, you know, led to this. So you are going to tell me if this is a command, forbidden, or observation by mentioning CF or O. Okay. Number 2, you need to take this one back to the fi'l mudhari form of you. You are going. So you are going, and then I say go. So if you explain for me, if you explain that this one is a command, and then you tell me why it's a command, and you give me the doer, and then I will ask you, what is the normal fi'l mudhari of this same word? If it was normal fi'l mudhari, how would it be? So you say tazhabu. So the same you, I'm not saying you should go, but I'm saying you are going or you go. Okay, very good. La yazukuna. I will give you another instance, another example of this one for you to be clear. La yazukuna. So la yazukuna is actually an observation. It's not a command. Why is it an observation? I'm seeing a forbidden la here. No, this la is la and nafiya, no nahiya. Why is it nafiya? How did I know? Because the fi'l mudhari here is not lightest. If it were lightest, the noon would have dropped. So because it's not lightest, then it's an observation. Okay, it's an observation. How do I know that it's not a normal fi'l mudhari? Because there is a la here. If it's a normal fi'l mudhari, there won't be this, and then I say yazukuna. Fine. But la is nafiya. So it's an observation that they do not, right? They do not taste. Okay. And then the fi'l mudhari normal is what? Yazukuna. Yazukuna. Note, yazukuna is the fi'l mudhari normal, right? Now, quickly now, pick up your fingers and tell me, Babashirhum, is it a command, forbidden, or observation? You can type your questions, sorry, your answers on your text box or chat box. Yazukuna, is this CF or O? Of course, it cannot be CF or O. Is this CF or O? Yazukuna. It's an observation. Sorry, I'm not talking about Fabashirhum, sorry. Sorry, Ahlam. Fabashirhum, is it an observation? Is it a forbidden or is it a command? Fabashirhum. Yahya says it's a command. Yahya, if it's a command, observation, Hawa says it's an observation. Salam says it's a command. Amr, Muhammad, Amin, Osman. Hawa also says it's a command. Why do you think it's a command? And why do you think it's an observation, Hawa? Command, observation. Why is it a command? You need to be able to explain. You see, because this is one of the things that were hurting us those days, including myself. I know why it is a fa'il or maf'ul bi, but I cannot explain it. I can't. I just know it is fa'il. But now you need to be able to tell me how is it, or why did you know that it's a command? You should be able to explain as a teacher. Very easy. Okay. Bashir. Number one, it is not madi, it's not mudhari. So it's an amr or nahy. Okay. It has to be nahy, amr or nahy. Now it is not nahy because there's no la. So that is done. There's no la. Absolutely. The sukoon here is a very important thing. You see, even if you don't know the meaning of what fa is half of art. Bashir. Bashir. Which kind of fi'il takes the lightest? There's none. Especially if maybe you might be thinking, okay, there is a half of lightest, but there's no half of lightest here. That's even if this one is mudhari, that's in that case. But this one is not also mudhari. So you need to know those markers, those things that will make me detect this is a fi'il amr. So the first thing here, as mentioned by Usman, is this sukoon. This sukoon here. Bashir. Bashir. Okay? Bashir. And you can even see the clue here to congratulate. So Bashirhum, this sukoon here make it lightest. So it is a command. And can you tell me who is the doer in this particular command? Who is the doer? Yes, anta. So if we have the doer and the action, what act? What? Very good. Yes, it's anta, it's you. What next is that pronoun there? How do you explain the whom? How do you label the whom? This whom, how do you label it? It's a done to. Yes, it's a done to. But all done to, yes. Maf'ul, I like that one. Maf'ul bihi, I like that one. Yes, it's the detail. Maf'ul bihi. But all maf'ul bihi is supposed to be in nasb status. Is whom in nasb status? And how do you prove that? Is whom in nasb status, yes or no? If yes, why? How? How do you know? How do you prove that? Nasb can either take fatha if it is singular, aini if it is pair, ina if it is plural masculine, atin if it is feminine, feminine plural. Then the third one, the fifth one, which li'annahu damir. Yes, it is damir, and so damir can also be fa'il. Yes, it's a pronoun. So yeah, we know it's a pronoun, but what shows that it is the maf'ul bihi? What shows it's maf'ul bihi? Yes, it is fi mahal nasb. Yes, I agree with that. It is fi mahal nasb. So this particular, it is non-flexible. I like that one. I like that one. That's specific. Its non-flexibility determines that it will not show the sign of nasb. Yes, it is in the status of nasb. Yes, it is a pronoun. But what makes it a pronoun that we do not see? Because pronoun, sorry, what makes it maf'ul that it doesn't show that it is maf'ul is because it is non-flexible. Okay? When I say want to tell you, okay, for bashiril mu'min, if it was, for instance, whom, I want to put a word there that is flexible. For instance, mu'min, if they are mu'min, the mu'mins or believers, what will I say? Fabashiril, who can tell me? Fabashiril mu'min? No, you see, that is where the answer comes from. That's the problem. It's because we don't ask ourselves these questions. Fabashiril mu'minina. Yes, it has to be mu'minina. What? So you see, because mu'minina can show the sign of nasb, then you are able to detect that it's maf'ul bihi. But here it's non-flexible, so you can't see it. So you have to know that though it is fi mahal nasb, the nasb doesn't show, or the sign of the nasb doesn't show because it is non-flexible, mabni. Okay, we can say it's mabni. Very good. Now let's go to واذكر ربك. واذكر ربك. What kind of jumla it is, or is it? ما نوع هذه الجملة؟ What is C? I'm saying no jumla. What kind of jumla is this? Listen to my question. You see, what kind of jumla is that? فعلية. Yes, you are right, Awa. Yes, it is فعلية. So the fi'l there, what kind of fi'l is it? Okay, it is amr. Okay, who is the doer there? Who is the doer there? Anta. Okay, how do you do the i'rab of, so it's a command, yes. Okay, how do you do the i'rab of rabbaka? That is the meaning, the i'rab. Detail. Yes, it is the detail. Now give me the detail of your detail. So rabba is maf'ul bihi and mudaf. Yes. And ka is mudaf. Yes. So mudaf rabb is mudaf ilayh. Again. Mudaf rabb mudafun ilayhi ka. Hey. Wow. Okay. مفعول به, yes. مضاف وهو مضاف, and then ka is مضاف إليه. Yes. 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 I'm sure that's what Khalifa is talking about. So rabbaka, you can say the rabbaka, the whole of rabbaka is maf'ul bihi. You can also say that is rabba, that is mudaf, maf'ul bihi, and mudaf, and kaf is mudafun ilayhi. But now, what is the status of this kaf? What is the status of this kaf? Who can tell me the status of this kaf? Yes, Usman, you are right. What is the sign of your J? What is the sign of J here? ما علامة الجر؟ ما علامة الجر؟ علامة الجر الفتحة? No. Khalifa, Senior Khalifa, how can علامة الجر? What is the sign of jar here? Absolutely, it's fi mahal jar. It is fi mahal. Yes, because it's non-flexible. Absolutely. So it does not, the sign here is not for the jar. The i'rab of fi mahal comes in. So all those things that are non-flexible are given the i'rab of fi mahal. Don't forget this. Yes, fi mahal jar. So it is dhamir mabni ala al-fatha. It is dhamir mabni ala al-fatha, but fi mahal jar mudaf ilayh. Okay, it simply means that it is a pronoun that is fixed, okay, fixed physically with fatha, but it is fi mahal, but it's sitting in a place of jar. It's sitting in a place of that, which means if this word was not, if this cap was a flexible ism, then it would have taken a jar sign, which can be kasra, which can be aini, which can be ina, which can be atin, right? We all mentioned this, or which can even be ya. You remember, a small khamsa, right? Good. So if we remove this cap, and then put the ism, the name, like Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay, and then in other than Quran, I want to say Udhkur Rabba Muhammadin. Have you seen it? Have you seen that? Because Muhammad is flexible. So I will say Udhkur Rabba Muhammadin. It will not be Muhammadun or Muhammadan. But in this case, cap will still be cap because it is non-flexible, doesn't change. Good. Let's go to la tuti'. Is it a command? Is it a forbidden? Is it an observation? La tuti'. We'll take these last two and then we are done. La tuti' is forbidden. What shows you that it's forbidden? What tells you it's forbidden? Yes, the la Usman. Very good. Which one is okay? Okay. The la, yes. What kind of la is that? How do we call it? What do we call it in English? How do we call it in English? Is it Amr? Muhammad Amin. Why is it Amr? There is no Amr here. There's nahy. Yes. Yes. So it is, yes, forbidden lamb. Absolutely. This is the forbidden lamb. La and nahiya. La and nahiya. How do we know that it's la and nahiya, not nafiya? You can tell me. How do you know it's la and nahiya? Why not nafiya? Why not nafiya? Yes, because it makes the fi'l in front of it is lightest, having sukun. Correct? Yes, that means it has to be nahiya. Right? La, nahiya and nafiya are written the same, but the fi'l mudhari in front of it becomes tick sukun. Therefore, it is nahiya, not nafiya. If nafiya was there, in fact, we won't say it is a forbidden, we'll say it's an observation. Now, how do you convert this statement into an observation? Who can tell me, how do you convert this expression into an observation? With the same pronoun, with the same doer inside. So how do you make an observation of the same pronoun where the la becomes la for observation and then the fi'l goes accordingly? How would it be? This is the final question. Our time is fast spent. How do you make it an observation? Yes, absolutely correct. But you need to put the skill on it for me to see. Making the last haraka dhamma. Not only that, la tuti'u, yes, that's how it will be. It will be la tuti'u, dhamma on the ayn, yes. Yes, so you say la tuti'u. So la tuti'u, this is ibara mulahadiyya or ibara lil mulahada. This is not a nahy. Okay, la tuti'u, you have to bring a ya between the ta and the ya. Okay, and the ayn. La tuti'u, you do not obey. You do not obey. But la tuti', do not obey. So there are two different expressions, right? With the la. We need to understand this. Very easy. Anytime there is a la, if the fi'l in front of it is normal, like la nudhiru, this one. This is a normal expression. La nudhiru. It means we do not waste. Okay? And the dua is nahnu. And this la is la nafiya, not nahiya. Okay? La yughadiru is also another observation. La is nafiya. Yughadiru is fil mudhari. And the dua is huwa. Here the dua is nahnu. Usjudu. Usjudu. Why don't we say isjudu? Who can tell me? Why don't we say isjudu? Why is it usjudu? It's a command. But I could say isjudu. Why can't I say isjudu? And is judu correct? Isjudu. And why? Because of the last but one haraka. What about it? It is the kha. There's no kha here. Why can't I say is judu, Muhammad Amin? It's dhamma. Which one is the dhamma? Because the third haraka carries dhamma. Which third haraka? You see, these things, these are how, if you are not, jim, yes. Is it the jim here that you are talking about? This one is, okay. Yes, the jim, yes. The jim is taking dhamma. But what we said is that, now listen to the ruling again, and it has to be like that. The ruling says that if the last but one letter, you have to state the last but one letter. In this case, if you say the last but one harf, then you are given a rule. But if you say jim here, in another word, it's going to be dal. In another one, it's going to be fa'u. So as a teacher, you don't tell the student this because the jim is. If you do that, you give him work. If he sees shin somewhere else, he will say it's not this one because it's not jim. Yes, that's how it is. But if you tell him that if the normal fi'l mudhari of this one is yes judu or tas judu. So if in the tas judu, the normal form tas judu, okay, the jim, the last but one, which is in this case jim, so you don't say the jim, just say the last but one harf, so that any kind of fi'l that is in that form, the person knows that is the last but one harf. The haraka there, if it is dhamma, then the helper alif will take dhamma. If it's any other haraka there, then it will take kisra. That is the ruling. If you're able to tell the students this, it's easy for the student then to grasp that as a rule, right? So tasjudu is the fi'l mudhari normal for this particular situation. So is it tasjudu is the fi'l mudhari for you. Now I want to command you now. I will say usjud. Why? Because when I was saying tasjudu, normally when you are doing it, the last but one haraka is having dhamma. So if I'm going to convert the same fi'l into amr, then I will have to use dhamma. If the last but one haraka is any other than dhamma, like tazhabu, tazhabu. In this case, the last but one haraka is having what? Fatha. I won't mention the harf. Because it doesn't matter if it is the harf. If you give the child an example of that harf, if he sees another harf, he will not be able to know. But if you give him the ruling that just consider the last but one harf, if that last one but one harf is having dhamma, then make the harf of like the alif the alif a helper alif dhamma. Else it is kisra. That's why we say izhab, because when you look at the fi'l mudhari normal for the second person is still what tazhabu or tajlisu. In the case of tajlisu is kisra. So where there is kisra or fatha, you put kisra, but where there is dhamma in the last but one harf, you put in fatha on the alif, the helper alif. We will keep it here, and I hope at least for some of you who did not attend yesterday's class would have seen the picture of what we tried to put together as a method of teaching this subject, and also using the English content, but maintaining the technical Arabic expressions and terminologies. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the understanding. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله يعصمك من الناس. الله يعصمك من الناس. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. صلوا على النبي الكريم. اللهم صل على محمد وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.